Welcome back. More brutality from the far left. The radical left-wing group Antifa has been responsible for several major violent incidents this year, including looting and destruction just blocks away from President Trump's inauguration. Antifa, which is made up of communists and anarchists, was back at it in Berkeley, California yesterday, violently attacking conservatives at a rally. Roll the tape. So, Greg, I want to go to you first. I think the biggest news out of this was that the Washington Post actually acknowledged that right-wing protesters were peaceful, which we've never seen before.
We've been watching Antifa for probably 6 or 7 months, I think, and it's been largely ignored by the mainstream media because the media accepts radicalism and it will excuse violence if it's for their opinions and for their greater good. So they were exposed once again when they portrayed this violent mob as no different than heroes storming Normandy after Charlottesville because they conflated Antifa with other protesters. They're a violent group of people, but they're more than violent. They're cowards. Yep. I mean, they're like juveniles dressed up as Batman in front of the mirror. They wear masks because they don't want to even own their own activities. And if you think, you got to ask one of these folks, if you ever get the chance, if what you're doing is so good, why do you have to wear a mask? You're obviously an immoral creep. And I think that the media looks really foolish because we predicted this on the 5. We said, it had to be like 3 months ago, we said that Antifa removes debate from the conversation, so you have emotion which goes straight to violence. There's a thing in between called debate. Antifa says no debate. Yep. They pulled it out, and we said this was going to happen. We said this months ago, and nobody listened, but we were right here. We said it.
Jesse, the media has defined Antifa as anti-fascist. They define themselves that way. Is that an accurate portrayal of what they are, who they are, especially given they are so anti-free speech?
We've been seeing Antifa fight Trump supporters for about a year. The only time I saw them fight neo-Nazis was in Charlottesville. Some people say that's righteous. I'm sure a lot of people want to punch a Nazi in the face. I get that. I understand that. But that's the only time I really saw them attack neo-Nazis. I've seen them attack women. I've seen Antifa attack members of the press.
Journalists, right.
Journalists. They all look like they got picked last in gym, though. No one can throw a punch. They're pale, they're skinny, or they're out of shape. They all look like they live in their parents' basement. They only rove in packs, and then they'll isolate 1 or 2 people, and then they'll beat them up. They can't square up on anybody. These people, they're a bunch of losers. And who brings sticks and shields? What is this, Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
They're really, honestly, a bunch of... Look at it. He's throwing hammer fist. Who punches like that?
Richard, I have a question for you.
You're critiquing the style.
No, that's what you guys.
No, but then they're cowards.
They are. Whenever someone on what is perceived as the right, whether it's the alt-right or whatever, everyone in the media and Democrats call on Republicans at the highest level, including the president, to condemn it. Why is it that Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer haven't come out and said, this doesn't define our party and we are distancing ourselves from them? Why aren't we hearing from them? And why aren't reporters asking them to condemn this directly? We've been asked to condemn everything on the planet.
I mean, I'll condemn Antifa. 54 years ago today, we had the March on Washington for Jobs and Justice. One of the main speakers of that march was Martin Luther King Jr. One of his famous quotes was this: "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." There is a growth of white supremacy. There is a growth of neo-Nazism. There is a growth of the KKK with a new word called the alt-right. And that is a problem. But Antifa isn't the answer to that problem. How we drive out the KKK, who has blood on their hand since 1865, they've been killing black people, is with love and understanding. How we drive out the KKK and neo-Nazis is people coming together like we see taking place in Houston, where neighbors are helping neighbors. That's how we defeat people like David Duke. That's how we defeat people like Richard Spencer and the people that believe in their views and their viewpoints,
really,
period.
There have been a number of arrests over the weekend. We've seen these arrests happen before. They haven't really deterred these Antifa folks from coming back to Berkeley, especially. How do you think that law enforcement can better prepare for these events, especially as school starts on that campus?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big concern, and especially because you know what they're going to do. They're going to try to conceal their identity. They're cowards. They're not, soldiers of the First Amendment or free speech. they are cowards. They don't want you to see who they are because they don't want to be criminally prosecuted. They don't have a right to commit crimes and do a violent protest in the way they're doing. So I think the left should condemn them. I think the police department should come prepared to shut it down, because otherwise, if they don't, it just emboldens them to go to the next event, to actually disturb the free speech of others.
And they will also tell you that they're against the Democratic Party and they're against the left. They're saying we're against the organized left.
Yeah, but the
so they're
highest
against
members
us,
of
so
the
we can't
Democrat
condemn
Party aren't
them.
condemning